We're here with Downtown. It's the Air War over Hanoi, a GMT game designed by Lee Brimcombe Wood. It's a little bit of an older game, 2004, but it's pretty well regarded. So I finally tracked down a copy sometime last year, and I'm finally getting around to playing it. Played it once solo, just using the regular rules. Played it once opposed so far on Vassal. And here, what I'm playing with are some variant solo rules that are still in draft form, apparently. But they're pretty solid. So what they do is basically give some framework for having some things being unknown. Since in the game, the DRV player would have some things that the US player wouldn't see. So it handles some of that through some random die rolls and that kind of thing. Use the regular sequence of play, which I've printed out here so that I could make notes on, just kind of noting down where I need to make random die rolls and the numbers to hit. They give charts for the different scenarios on how the SAMs are set up and how the DRV aircraft activate. So in this scenario, this is scenario 2, or D2. In it, there's a potential for 4 aircraft to be in the air. Only 2 of them will be real. So here, I must have put it away already. The A aircraft was found out to be fake, even though the US spent a lot of time trying to track it down. But the B aircraft, which is here, is real and has inflicted some damage. Here we can see that one aircraft from one of my flights of Dingus was shot down and lost its crewman. So without knowing anything about the game, the first thing I'll say about it is there's a lot of front end work to set it up. I did it in pencil so you can't really see, but the US player has to plot out their flight plan, where their target is. This scenario has a diversionary target. So I actually have 2 bombing runs that are going to use the same path but in opposite directions. Thought I'd get kind of tricky. Trying to stay away from things like flak, which are also noted on the board there. This guy should have been shot at. I need to do that. So each player has some things to do. In the solo, you set up your mission, your raid, and then the DRV is going to get things up on the board that are going to make it harder for you to be successful. I need to resolve this real quick and I'll come back and we'll just go through one turn, just kind of showing. It'll show pretty much how it happens for both players if you wanted to play one side or the other. Opposed, the solo rules are you just play the US as the bombing run takes its program path, and then your cap and your I don't have any jamming going on in this scenario, but the jamming would happen just normally. The cap happens normally. The DRV flights are just trying to attack whatever's closest to it, basically. We still have a random flak that could come on the board at some point, and then another random flight that may or not be real. Here's the other flight that's on the board right now. If this one turns out to be real, then this one would never need to come on the board. So this one just took off from Kep. It's going to try to get into the action. I need to resolve this flak and then we'll come back. Alright, nothing happened there. Rolled a 6. So the first thing in the step, or in the sequence of plays, you roll 2d10 for a random event. We have 10, so there's going to be an anti-aircraft ambush on one flight on the deck. So what I'll do is roll randomly for that. We have 1, 2, so 1 through 5, 6 or 10, So it's going to impact this guy, which is bad for him. That's Dingus. That's the guy who's already taken some losses. He's disordered from combat. So it's going to be small arms. Need more than 17. Rolled 16. So nothing happens there. So in this one, there's no jamming. We do detection. To do detection, you just roll on this chart for each aircraft. So the DRV will end up rolling first. The scenario will give you a detection level. The DRV for this one is in C. The US is in F. So is in F. So they would need a 15 or more on 2 dice to be successful. And it's -3 when they're on the deck or at low. So it's really hard for them to find. This one is not hidden, right? Oh, it is. Okay, so we'll roll on that one for the US. They need 18 or 19. 18, 19, or 20. Didn't get it, and then they'll roll for C. Didn't get that one either. So the DRV will roll for each of these. I won't do that on camera because it's kind of a pain just to show, but just each aircraft will get rolled for. So only Dingus was detected. So why detection is important is it's easier to engage a target that's detected. For the DRV in the solo rules, if they're detected, you have to make a dummy check. If it fails the dummy check, then it just goes away because it's a dummy. Once there's visual sighting or contact made, like there has been here, the real counter comes on. So here's a generic counter. Here's a real counter. Once those real counters come on, the aircraft are always on the map. So Dingus can be undetected, but it's always going to be Dingus. So we did our detection, now we're going to do movement. In this, in the traditional game or the regular game, the DRV gets to pick who goes first. You just draw a chit, and they're double-sided, so you would draw a chit, and whichever side's going would get to activate that many aircraft. In the solo rules, the DRV would only choose to go first if they're in engagement, where they can get in close and fight. He's disordered, so he can't engage, so he wouldn't use that anyway. But earlier in the game, there was a Red Crown Disco Operator event, and that made the US always get to go first. So the US is going to go first. Dingus is disordered and has maneuver from combat. He has to spend half his movement points to get rid of that. And then we have the rest of our cap here, one here, and then these three and these three on the bombing run. And yeah, so that's a waypoint. So they're gonna follow this path, hit this, and then go straight up. This cap's kind of trying to cover them. So what we'll do, let's try a chit. So 3 US aircraft get to go. So Dingus is going to take this off, and then he gets to move 3, or he has a total of 3, so he'll move 1. And he's at the deck. So we'll mark him moved. This guy will move. 202 here is going to go 1, 2, 3. And this guy will move 1, 2, 3. And these guys are really just kind of covering right now. DRV gets to pick. They get to move 1 aircraft. So again, the solo rules give us kind kind of the order in which they should move. If they're in engage zone, so we would get all the way down here. We have one that's far away. He's in what they call transit zone. So this guy's going to end up moving, but he wants to get out of there because he can't initiate combat. So he wants to get to where he's not being threatened until he can potentially get into combat. So I'll go ahead and figure out where to move him. Nope, I should have read all the way. So disordered flights actually go last. So this guy's going to get to go. He's just going to move. He's going to go 1, get a free turn out of that, 2, 3. So we'll mark him as moved. And it just basically goes back and forth like this until once one side has moved all their units, the other side just gets to move all theirs. So 4 units, we'll go ahead and move these 4 guys. They're just going to continue up. So you can see that we missed this combat. I'll probably come back for another combat to show that, but there's some wide gaps in action happening while the US kind of develops what they're doing and the DRV tries to react to it. So I'll go ahead and finish this turn, get these guys moved up, and come back when something exciting happens. Might as well finish showing one turn, or the majority of one turn, and then come back and show some action. So if anybody used dash flight, which means you get to go a little bit faster, they would burn off a fuel in this phase. We don't have any SAMs on the map, so we don't do this. The track phase should be called the lose track phase. Both players roll on the track table to see who they actually lose track of. So the DRV will roll on C, and they roll a 7, which means they lose track of hearts. So all these hearts would go back undetected, which means now they have to roll again to try to find them. And the US loses track of 13, which is also hearts. They don't have anybody found, so I didn't need to roll that anyway. The next thing would be for SAMs. They get to try to lock onto stuff. And then we go into the admin phase. So we can roll for disorder recovery. DRV will roll first. They need a 20. Didn't get it. US needs a 20. Didn't get it. Here again, it's kind of a lot of administration work. Just kind of going through, you go step by step down here. All we need to worry about really is right here. Can we make it a new DRV flight ready? We need a higher than a 6 and 9. So these are percentile dies now. So we got 98. So there is a new DRV flight. It's going to come out of the closest airfield, and it's going to be ready. It takes the MiGs a long time to take off. So next turn it'll be, or it's ready now. Then it'll go to on the deck and then spend half its movement point, and then it can actually move. So it takes 3 turns to take off. Now we see if any AAA activates. That we need a 1. You need to roll equal to or less than the number of flak left. Didn't get that. So this guy's still kind of hanging out. This is if stuff gets shot down. This is where some guys got lost. And we're done. So if the US still had flights to enter, they could bring them on now. But all their planes are on. That's it. That's the end of the turn. You can mark the turn here, but there's no point. There's not a game end. The mission just plays out. So we're about 6 turns in, I would say. And we're probably only we're less than a quarter of the way. I would say this is about a quarter of the way through the mission, because they have to get here and then still get back off the map. So plenty of turns left. We'll come back when something exciting is happening. So I got a little bit too wrapped up and missed a combat. These guys pretty much surrounded him in this hex. It was bad for the US. This guy had an aircraft shot down and 1 crippled, and then ended up aborting. rolled a 2, which is the worst result on the morale check after combat. So he's going to bug out. He ended up scattered here. These guys moved in. I moved everybody I shouldn't have. This guy should still be back here. But I'll leave him here. He's going to attack this guy. This is as far as he could have gotten. So he's there also. Only one of them is going to get to attack, most likely, because he's going to scatter. So unless he scatters into the other guy's hex, their movement's done. That's why you move, resolve combat, and then move, resolve combat to avoid situations like that. But here's pretty much how it will go. And it's all taken care of on these charts here. So first you're going to roll to see if you can actually engage. There are modifiers for aggression level, being disordered, different altitude band, etc. So the US is going to try to engage first. They have to roll less than a 9 because that guy's discovered. Actually, I need to check that because I think he might go back undiscovered. I need to check real quick. I was correct. So immediately following air-to-air combat, you go undetected. So he is here, he's disordered, and they know he was there, but they can't detect him. So it's going to be a little bit harder, a lot harder. So counter 200, doesn't know his aggression yet. I'm playing with the advanced aggression rules, which really just means are optional. You just roll aggression when you need it first so that you don't know. This would kind of protect you or stop you from protecting somebody who's weak. So I rolled an 18, and this guy is a regular, so he's going to be at +1. So we need to make a note of that. So he's at +1. So this is the differential, I believe. So maybe it's not, because it's not the aggression differential. It's aggression value. So he's at +1 there. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, it does. Okay, we're good. So that's going to be it. So he needs to roll 14. He didn't get it. So the solo rules don't really give you, I believe, whether the DRV would want to engage or not. We're going to say they choose to disengage, which I guess they would have had to have said before. Well, let's just roll with it. So -1, this guy is detected, so they're going to be rolling here. So -1, -2, -3. So they need a 12, which they got on the nose. So they engaged, and now they get to choose whether combat happens. So they're going to go ahead and roll with it. They're at a severe disadvantage here, but there's a pretty good chance that they can at least disrupt this guy, or disorder him. Maybe even potentially shooting anybody down, which is all good. So they're going to go ahead and roll with it. So we'll continue. So we'll roll back and forth. We roll in the maneuver table first to figure out how many shots they get off, and then we'll roll on the shot resolution. So maneuver differential is going to be +2. We're rolling for the US first. We're rolling for us. Oh no, not there. Aggression differential is +2. We have +1 for geometry. +1, so we're at +4. Okay, so +4, 2 aircraft. We roll it. So 10, so 14. We're going to get 2 shots off. no need to get 200's counter out. So feedback comes on the board.